Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Found something else worth knowing. I'm listening to a papal history book, and it's pretty cool. I have some papal history on the shelf. I listened to one a long time ago, a series of lectures by a medieval guy, and Thomas F. Madden, I believe his name was. He had some great stuff about medieval things and church history. This guy is a guy who was at Notre Dame long ago. Um, but his name is Thomas F.X. Noble. And just want to give you a little fanfare there. Louder than I expected, sorry. But going into when popes started changing their names. And this was something that really took place starting in the mid to late 900s. Interestingly enough, there had been one instance up until that point of a pope changing his name. Once ever, all of the, as this guy said, all the Leos and the Gregories and all the Johns. That was their name, what that they were given, and then they would just keep that when they were named pope. But in the 500s, there was a guy named Mercurius who was elected or named pope. Weren't really elections at that time. And that was just inappropriate because Mercury, obviously a pagan Roman god, so he didn't think that would be a good thing, so he changed his name away from Mercurius. And and then he was the only one to ever change his name until you get to 955, and there's a guy named Octavian, and and this was in arguably, according to this author, the lowest low point of the papacy was during this 900s into the thousands era, and this guy was named pope when he was 18. He wasn't even a member of the clergy, but he was part of an influential family, and that's kind of how things went back then. You just got to call the shots and say, hey, we want you to name this person the Pope. So this person's name was Octavian, and that was a terrible name for a Pope, too, because of Octavius, the Caesar. Caesar Augustus. And at this point also, the popes were probably becoming the most powerful that they would ever be, ruling over the papal states. And so you didn't want to look like an emperor of Rome, even though de facto you might be like an emperor and you're in the city of Rome and you're in the Roman Catholic Church, because they had emperors. And you didn't want to make other emperors jealous, certainly not the Holy Roman Emperor, which was typically a Germanic emperor. And so there were real conflicts between the German emperors and the popes at this time, and the popes were always looking for protection from the Holy Roman Empire, but sometimes the Holy Roman Empire wanted to own the papal states. It was a really messy time. So this guy thought, not going to be called Octavian. That's a bad look. I'll just call myself Pope John. But there had already been 11 Johns. He became John the 12th. And since that time, every single pope going back to 955 has taken another name upon entering office, except for this one guy in the mid 1500s. He just kept his name. But every other single pope has done that. And in recent times, it's been something to do with wanting to honor a more recent pope or honor the saint whose papal name that you took. That was certainly the case with Pope Francis. There was some speculation, because he was famously the first Jesuit pope, that he was naming himself after a prominent Jesuit, Francis Xavier. But he said, no, I'm naming myself after Francis, the founder of the Franciscan order, St. Francis of Assisi. He embodied much of what Pope Francis aspired to embody as Pope. and he lived up to that name admirably, I think, in his 12 years. Pope Benedict the 16th, he took the name Benedict, and there's obviously lots of Benedicts. Benedict the 15th was the Pope during World War One, and he tried to make peace. He tried to make peace with both sides. The Germans didn't want to do that because they were largely Protestant. They didn't want to deal with the Catholic Pope. The French didn't want to do that. They just thought that he didn't really have their best interests at heart. Neither side was interested in working with Benedict XV for peace in World War One. But Benedict XVI, when he came along, specifically cited Benedict XV as a person who was interested in peace between all nations and all peoples, and that's what he would aspire to. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. Whoever the next pope will be will choose their own name, and it will be announced immediately when they name the new pope. They will say in Latin that we have a new pope, and they will say the new pope's name in Latin. There was an interesting scene in the Conclave movie where one of the supposed guys who didn't want the papacy, but it looked like he might get it. Another one was saying, come on, you already have your papal name picked out. We all do. Don't deny it. And the guy said he didn't, but, we know he did. And you will see that later. Not that he becomes pope or doesn't become pope. I'm not giving away any spoilers. But there is a scene where he does reveal that he did, in fact, have a papal name picked out for himself. Because it is something that, even though you don't have to be a cardinal to be elected pope, you are. That's who's going to be elected, one of these cardinals. So it is tomorrow. The conclave starts tomorrow afternoon, Roman time, so tomorrow morning, U.S. time, and I'm excited. I'm excited to see who it will be. There are just so many great candidates. Pope Francis was not really on people's radar when he won. There were a few people that were the front runners, and he was a tier or two below them, and he just came out of nowhere. So once again, there are a couple supposed front runners, but I don't know. It seems to be. I think it may be one of the front runners this time. Certainly, Pope Benedict XVI was an all-out favorite when he was elected. It would have probably been a bit of a shock if it wasn't him. But this time around, I don't know if it'll be the Italian or if it'll be the Filipino guy or someone else. There are a number of favorites. There's not like one clear-cut favorite, but there are a number of favorites, and there's just such scrutiny and attention on this now compared to what there used to be that probably whoever wins it won't be all that much of a surprise. But we'll see. I don't think we'll see tomorrow. I believe it would be on day 2, on Thursday. But we'll see. And we will talk to you then.